Streets are exploding with drugs and violence.
This is a campaign ad put out by Republican Senate candidate J.D. Vance in Ohio. He's up against Democratic candidate Tim Ryan.
Tim, fight the criminals, not the cops.
It's a message Republicans are blasting in the final days before the critical November 8 midterm elections that will determine control of the U.S. Congress. Fear of crime appears to be resonating with voters across the country, from Texas
In Houston, it's crime, economy.
to New York.
Going into the midterm election, I think everyone should really look at the crime rate that's going on in New York.
New York is in crisis.
Republican Lee Zeldin, seeking to beat New York Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul, has hammered her over what he called her catch-and-release policies toward criminals that were making New Yorkers unsafe. While he remains behind her in most polls, his approval has climbed since August as he's amplified his message about crime.
There are criminals out there who need to pay the consequences for their action instead of the catch-release policies that Kathy Hochul champions.
It is a joke to talk about a crime policy that doesn't include doing something about illegal guns.
Hochul and other Democrats hit back that Republicans have refused to pass what gun control advocates call common sense laws to improve public safety.
Let's have background checks. Let's have safety checks. Let's do it smart. You were nowhere to be found, Lee.
Criminologists agree that crime is up, but blaming progressives and liberals is not as easy as Republicans might lead voters to believe.
Criminologists will tell you that overall crime trends, nationally speaking, are not all that responsive to individual policy changes at the local level.
Reuters correspondent Joseph Axe has been digging into crime statistics ahead of the election.
When, for example, the homicide rate goes up or down by a significant margin, that tends to cut across geographic lines. It tends to happen in cities with more progressive justice policies or less progressive justice policies, states that are run by Republicans, states that are run by Democrats, because they're really reacting to broader societal and economic factors.
FBI statistics show murders spiked nearly 30% in 2020 to a two-decade high. All violent crime, including offenses such as robbery and assault, went up 5.2%. But crime trends after 2020 aren't as clear.
There's no question that murder and violent crime went up significantly in 2020 when the pandemic struck. But since then, it's been a little more of a mixed bag. So the data suggests that murders continue to go up slightly in 2021. And to the extent that we have data for 2022 so far, it appears that murder and violent crime has gone down this year. And so it doesn't lend itself to a simple political narrative. It's simultaneously true that the murder rate and violent crime hasn't shifted that much over the last couple of years. It's also true that it's still quite a bit higher than it was in 2019. So there is some reason for folks to feel as though there are more murders happening now, because there are. It's still quite a bit lower than the kind of bad old days of the 1990s when crime was a lot more prevalent across the United States.